really stands out. I feel like I was really connected. You know, it's like many great New York films that I could list off or whatever. Can you share your connection to the film and describe the journey from NYC premiere Tribeca to this moment right here?
Sure. I mean, my connection to the film is I wrote it with my friend who I met when I was 17 years old. I directed it and I produced it. So it's been it wasn't the easiest movie to raise money for. And when you have like school shooter in your log line, people are like, no, you know, and they don't even read it. So every time somebody said no to this movie, I kind of thought, well, if I make it, it will stand out. And I like movies that are different. And it gave me confidence that it would be different. So Tribeca was wonderful to share it with an audience for the first time and feel like that was working. And now, I mean, the audience is part of the movie's story, and it's just been such a gift to share it with more audiences. So thank you for watching it the way we designed it to be watched.
I appreciate that answer, and like, you know, I was there at the New York premiere, so it's cool to be here full circle. Can you speak to how your producing experience from films like Uncut Gems and Good Time, in addition to working with Noah Baumbach, kind of, you know, led to this feature debut and your experience before this film?
Yeah, I mean, I never thought of myself as a producer. I think it's an opportunity to learn and support people who had different perspectives from me, and yeah, it's really hard to get the experience of working on a movie. So whenever I had that chance, I would do it. I think probably directors liked me as their producer because I never thought like the producer who was trying to get his next job. I just thought like the producer that wanted to make the best movie possible. So on this, I was just like, well, I think I could do that for myself too. And that's how we started working on this movie. It's empowering if you're the director and the producer. You know, it's really all on you. There's not a lot of people you can ask for advice. But I think I tried to make other movies before this, and those were more like movies where I was sort of looking for the industry to give me permission to make a film. And I think as those didn't work out and I got closer and closer to doing this, where I was doing all the producing and the directing, it just became more and more mine and closer to doing it my way versus the industry's way.
That's really cool. I appreciate the insights. I think we all can, you know, relate to like putting yourself out there. Can you speak to, like, talk about the casting with the complex characters? As viewers, I think we see both Solomon and Balthazar's perspective. Can you talk about the casting process, and were there like chemistry reads, rehearsals and stuff before that production, and how that led to the film being made?
The movie that I'd failed to make before this one, and I only mention that because I think it fires you up, and it forces you to figure out what that you want to make a movie versus like the movie that you think you're supposed to make. And you know, when you make a movie about young people and you cast young actors, they're not going to help your movie get financed in the same way that like Harrison Ford would. But it's a shame because I actually, when I got hooked on movies when I was growing up, I felt like there was a new movie with young people in it, new faces, like every week. And that's so exciting to see new talent, right? Or to see talent that you've seen before do something that you have a new side of them. And part of this movie was, hey, we're going to make it with whatever budget that we can get. So it's not as important that we have Harrison Ford. Let's get some young actors in the mix. And I think also, I don't know, when I don't have that much money to offer, I want to offer an actor the opportunity to show a new side of themselves. So Asa Butterfield, I don't know who's seen like Sex Education, or, you know, he's an English actor playing Solomon. And I knew that he could do it, and I knew that nobody was offering him the chance to do something like that. And so it's really just, hey, I know you can do this, and can you get the accent? And do you want to push it? You know, and he and also like he knows that he's kind of a cuddly teddy bear type of guy who people are inclined to like, so we can play with that, right? And he wanted to play with that. He wanted to push it, and so I was like, okay, I got a collaborator here.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is an Ender's Game, Asa Butterfield. We're a little long from that. Yeah, can you talk about maybe Jaden and what his contribution to the film is and how he was integral to the process in any which way or form?
I cast Jaden before Asa. I'm not doing auditions with these guys. It's more like I know that you can do this based on their work. And I think probably because Jaden had played a few more like rich little prick, sweet little guy, like he was more self-conscious about it, and so it wasn't as easy as with Asa. But that was great because Jaden was asking the kinds of questions that you want your actor to ask, and you know, I try to get us to a place where even if you're only 17, like Pippa, who plays Eleanor, like you become the authority on your character and you're defending your character, so that we get to a place where they say, oh, Oscar, I don't think I would do that, you know? And I'm like, you're right. You know, I want you to feel comfortable asking those questions and fighting for what your character would or would not do and what might be a betrayal of your character. So Jaden, the way he arrived, and it can be annoying when you don't have that much time, but incredibly inquisitive and really pushing us to make this character as unique to him as Solomon was to Asa.
The small details, right? Honestly, I want to talk about like the use of social media throughout the film and the commentary of the two worlds, the sort of like the male loneliness epidemic and like the film touches upon. You talk about sort of executing those two worlds and how social media comes into the film.
Yeah, I mean, I want it to be entertainment first, and I think that, and then I don't write from like theme, you know. It's more about character and finding these characters and getting them to start talking to each other. I think that my co-writer and I know we have in common just we both think it's really sad what like kids are going through right now. But I mean, growing up in this era where you're growing up online, you're growing up with social media, and it's playing such a huge role in your life. I think maybe especially with young men, it's incredibly sad, but it's also hilarious at times, right? And that was, I don't know, when we're writing, we're just trying to crack each other up, and there were a lot of jokes in there. Obviously, the whole like the jokes in the movie, I hope, are more true to character. The project of the movie is definitely more about like hanging out with these two boys and getting to know them, and whenever it just felt like a joke to make us laugh versus something that was actually true to the characters and their lives, then, you know, we'd strip that kind of thing away. Social media as like a bigger conversation, I mean, there's a ton to unpack there, but I have enough followers. I don't do it that often, but I've like always had one foot in movies and one foot in the internet. I'm the same age as Mark Zuckerberg. Like, we had Facebook when it was just for us and it was cool. Our parents didn't have it, right? That's very different from Balthazar and Solomon, where they've grown up on this stuff. And I feel really bad for young people who have sent me messages where they're like, Oscar, what am I doing wrong with my my YouTube, and it's like, you're 10 years old, like go outside, you know, go play with your friends. And the pressure to like be a brand by the time you're 12 is really sad to me. So I thought this story where one kid is pretending to be a psychopath, essentially, because that's the only way that he feels a little bit of power in his shitty life, is to threaten people online and pretend to be this big bad guy. And then this other kid who's got it all, seemingly, is pretending to be a victim, you know, publicly. That just felt like that was kind of the kernel of what got us started with the writing, and felt like this would be a story worth telling.
Thank you for that. I just appreciate all the detail and, like, you know, sharing your process with us. We have time for like 1-2 tops for audience question here in the front.
Yeah, so me and my buddy actually saw this at Tribeca almost a year ago now. We loved it. Wanted to see it again ever since and show it to new people, and just hear them next to me going, "What the fuck did you bring us to?" We've been saying, "I want to lick the shit off your dick after my for the past year." My question is, like, you know, it's been a while. Is there anything that was different from that cut? And is there anything in general, obviously everybody involved in the writing process has a wicked sense of humor. Is there anything that you would be willing to share that isn't career-endingly offensive, that even you guys were like, we can't fucking do that, we can't put that in, that didn't leave the writing?
I mean, okay, what was different? There's only a few things which we showed it to the MPA, and they gave us an NC-17, and I was like, wait, what? And you cannot get an R rating in this country if you show a hard penis. And we had 3.
That was different though, like,
if you noticed it, and you were really paying attention.
I was like, I don't think you can do that with a little space.
I freaked out when they told me. I was like, God, you know, because I love movies, and I feel like sometimes movies have sort of slipped like behind the culture, like behind the internet. And I think of, gosh, a 10-year-old can go on the internet and see a zillion hard penises, and where you guys are gonna make me cut a meme out of it. So that was, we got really mad about it, and then we thought about it, and we were like, actually, this is kind of better. So we got our R rating. Maybe you'll see people watching it on airplanes one day. I mean, in terms of the shit on your dick, that just seemed like something a dumb 17-year-old would come up with, like their idea of dirty talk. I mean, I could share something that we didn't keep in the movie just because it seemed like provocative for the sake of being provocative, versus I'll tell you after, it'll take me too long.
All right, we have time for one more audience question right here, second row.
So I am really impressed and interested by the psychology of these characters like Solomon and Balthazar. I work in PTSD research, and I'm very interested in personality disorders. And Balthazar, I think, is an incredible portrait of an altruistic narcissist. And there's just so much that is incredibly accurate just about the psychological profiles of these characters. So I'm wondering how did you create these characters? I guess psychologically, what research did you do to kind of come up with their backgrounds?
I mean, we looked at some. There were some real people and things in the news that kind of were kernels of things that we hung on to, or even found in research. But I think that but there wasn't. I mean, actually, people have said that in film festivals in a bunch of different countries, even like, hey, I work with kids, I do child psychology, but it was more about having these guys, and we did a lot of work in rehearsal, and again, that kind of process of like getting the actors to really know their characters so that they felt comfortable saying, I don't think you would do that. And I just think like when you have the two of them, we're all working together, this emotional truth like emerges, and you know what is and what isn't. But I guess, you know, there in New York City where I live, you have a lot of like wealthy, narcissistic sociopaths. I guess every time I walk down the street. Yeah.
All right, so before we wrap up, is there anything that we didn't talk about today that you wanted to share with the audiences of Cleveland here, you know, on a parting note?
No, I would just say, listen, I am so proud and thrilled that you're all here. And if you didn't like the movie, that's one thing. But if you did like the movie, spread the word. This is the first time the movie's screened in the Midwest, and anywhere except New York and LA. So it's pretty cool. And I'm trying to bring the movie to more cities that aren't New York and LA. And when people make noise, it really matters. So thank you so much.